Hello there. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the piano lesson. This is Jonathan, but I know you knew that. And today, while I'm recording this program, it is Martin Luther King Day in America. So I thought I'd play a little spiritual, little gospel song, Down by the Riverside, a little traditional gospel hymn. And I thought I would also just talk about the song itself and also about just kind of learning tunes like this. Just a wonderful, uplifting piece of music. And for those of you who may not be that well acquainted with gospel music, you don't have to go to church to listen to gospel music. You can just go to YouTube and find it. And my little program is kind of beyond the scope of the entire repertoire of gospel music and all the fantastic singers that have come along the way, including one that comes to mind, perhaps Mahalia Jackson. One of the things, we'll talk about one of the things that makes gospel sound like gospel. And I don't really claim to be the greatest gospel piano player in the world. I don't even think I'm the second greatest gospel, or might not even be the third best. But I kind of, I can fake it. I can get it across. I think I can, make it work if I have to. And So let's talk about this piece, for instance. This piece, by the way, is in a collection of songs that I put together of over 100 songs that are based on just the primary chords. So if I just tell you that, hey, music is easier than you think, it's just a bunch of primary chords. What are primary chords? Well, they're the three major chords, diatonic chords in a major key. You might, it might go in one ear and out the other, and you have to just kind of do it. So my idea of teaching music, in a sense, is just to give you that, to give you all those tunes until eventually the light bulb goes on and goes, oh, that's all it is? It's just three chords? Well, why did it seem so difficult? Well, because if you change a little thing, a little tiny little thing one way or another, it sounds really different. And I was definitely embellishing this song. So I was using other primary chords, other secondary chords, to make it seem as if it was, maybe had more chords than it did. And a lot of that is just up to my discretion. I did use one chord that was not in the key, and that was the diminished chord, the passing chord. But the melody, so when you're learning a tune, I know music is hard enough to learn as it is, right? I mean, it is hard. I mean, even for me, it's still hard to learn music. And when you're learning a tune, as soon as you can, and as soon as you're able, and if you have a teacher that can teach you these things, you want to learn the music as if you were the one that wrote it. And there's a variety of ways you can do that, but one of the ways is to use music theory, to understand not just the notes that you're playing mechanically, but to understand the concepts about the notes, and to have some fun with it. I call these tunes earworms. So an earworm is just something that you hear, and it kind of sticks in your ear, and it's plays itself over and over again until you kind of go crazy. But that's what makes it a great tune, is that it's kind of infectious. And we can talk about, why do these tunes sound the way they do, and all, but I could easily show you 100 songs from various styles that really only use the 1-4-5 pattern. And this particular tune, let me get my little pen out here. So the melody. Listen to that sound. What, does that remind you of anything? Oh yes, it's the pentatonic scale. So this sound, right, is this sound, right? It's a major pentatonic scale. The major pentatonic scale, right? Except we're doing it in C. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Those are the scale degrees in the key of C. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Except we're not starting on C, right? We're starting on the third of the chord. So it's kind of upside down. It's kind of inverted. But the highest note is E. I'm not going to write out the whole melody, but the highest note is E. And then the lowest note is G, all right? And then we have this note in the middle, which is C. Does that remind you of anything? It should. It should remind you that that is really a C chord with G in the bass. That's in second inversion. So it's a C chord, right? That's constructed in this manner, okay? And there's one note that's not in the chord, this D sharp. Let's kind of categorize them into two groups, but this D sharp here, all right? That's just really just a color tone. It's a color tone. What is color in music? Well, it's dissonance. It's something that makes the music, gives the music some tension. And then we have a couple other notes that are not part of the chord. We have the D natural. All right, I'm gonna kind of do that. So we'll have kind of three categories. We have the D natural, right, and then we have the A, right, and together that makes it that's your pentatonic scale. Okay, that's a D. This is an A, right, and that right, G A C D E G A C D E. There's your pentatonic scale. All right. So if you were going to play this, the first thing I would do is I would just kind of have some fun and play a little game and say, hey, could I play this tune in any other key? Because it'll make the tune more meaningful to you. So after you learn it, you won't feel as fragile if you play it. You won't be stuck just playing in one key. So let's take the other two primary chords. What are the primary chords? Well, they're 1, C, F, 4, and G5. Those are the three major chords among the 7 diatonic triads. Remember, we have these diatonic triads, dia meaning through, tonic meaning key. C major, 2 D minor, 3 E minor, 4 F major, 5 G major, 6 A minor, 7 B diminished, which is the top part of the G7 chord. Right? That's the most common 7 chord of all, and then we're back to the C again. Okay? And if you don't know how to do that in every key, that's pretty important. You should be able to take each of these chords, root position, take the C up here, first inversion, take the E up here, second inversion. That's the terminology that we use. In this instance, we're in second inversion, and since it's the one chord in the key, Roman number 1, small Arabic 6/4, that's the figured bass, because this interval is a sixth and that interval is a fourth. All right, that's why we do that. And for those of you who don't like figured bass, please like it, because it's a great thing. But you should be able to take each of those chords, right? The 4 chord, F. Take the F, move it up an octave. Take the A, move it up an octave. Right? And the G, skipping keys, root position, G, B, D, B, D, G, D, G, B. That's a tongue twister. All right, you should be able to do that as block chords and as broken chords. These are broken chords. And you should be able to do that in the right hand and the left hand. And the fingering is actually the same. 1, 3, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, 3, 5. So 2 for the second inversion, and left hand, similar idea. 5, 3, 1, 5, 3, 1, 5, 2, 1. All right? And do them together. Right? You should be able to accomplish that. And let's just say we're going to do this in the key of G. Well, G, the key signature of G is 1 sharp. Right? We're not really going to use that sharp right now, this very second, although we will later. But the diatonic triads for that key would be G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished, and back to G. So the first chord is G. It's in second inversion. All right, that's the way it would look. All right, so we're definitely going to use those notes. Right. There's our pentatonic scale, transposed. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Every guitar player knows how to play their pentatonic scales, major pentatonic scales. You know, we hear piano players playing pentatonic scales a lot is in kind of like Allman Brothers, like kind of Southern rock and roll. There's a tune called that's it, Ramblin' Man. Haven't played that in years, boy. Greg Allman, what a great keyboard player he was. Well, I am digressing. But this tune, there's your chromatic note, your dissonance, down an interval of a sixth, stepping up a third, stepping up, and step again. Right? That's the pattern. Try that in another key. Do it in the key of F. F has 1 flat. Those are your primary chords. F, B flat, C. In the key of G, the primary chords are G, C, D, G. Right? But in F, right? This is how you gain competence as a musician. You're not just again, just learning things mechanically. Although, again, it's understandable when you first learn music. That's how else are you going to learn, right? But you want to. This is much more valuable. So again, root position, first inversion, second inversion. That's the shape of the 1 chord in the key of F. We have our chromatic note, down a sixth, stepping up, skipping, step, and step. There's the pentatonic scale. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Right? Now, those notes have functions. Let's go back to the key of C. Right? This is called a neighbor tone. Right? You can think of notes. You can categorize notes into 2 general categories. All right. You can have chord notes. You can have chord notes, and then you can have non-chord notes. Right. So the chord notes in this instance are C, E, and G. Right. E, D sharp, and E. Right? It goes back. You have a chord note. It goes down a half step, a non-chord note, and then back to the same note. Right? That particular kind of movement, that is called a neighbor tone. N-E-I-G-H-B-O-R. That's a neighbor tone, and it's a neighbor because it goes back to the same chord tone. Right? And if you really want to be picky, it's a lower neighbor because you're going down. Right? Chord note. That A is part of the G, A, C. G, A, C. That area there there's a step and there's a skip, right? Now that's part of the scale. You could think of that as part of the scale tone, but when it goes step, skip, we call that an escape, E-S-C-A-P-E, an escape tone, right? And then when it goes C-D-E, C-D-E, right? C-D-E, C-D-E, right? That D is called a passing, P-A-S-S-I-N-G, a passing tone. And why is it a passing tone? Because we're going from a chord tone by step to another chord tone. So those are three different types of non-chord tones. Notes that go back to the same note, right? Notes that go to a different note, right? Or if I went down, that D would still be a passing tone, right? If I did this, if I did, I don't know, if I did this, that would be an upper neighbor, let's say. That's chromatic. Or if I did, that A would now function, rather than as this escape tone, it would function as an upper neighbor. And you might even, this is all basically a C chord. Could you call it something else? Well, maybe. You could call it. Could you call it a C6? Possibly. That 6 gives it a little bit more color, but it's basically a C chord. Now, if I want to embellish it, anytime you have a chromatic note, that is a prime candidate for a diminished chord. So diminished chords are interesting because they are symmetrical chords, like a diminished seventh chord. And what I mean by that is that the intervals in the chord are essentially the same. I mean, they are and they're not, but basically they're the same. So what diminished chord would have that note in it? Well, F sharp diminished. It would be a good candidate. And when you are harmonizing a melody, you want the melody note to be on top. Otherwise, it's not going to sound like a melody. I don't want to put the F sharp up here. I don't want to do that. It sounds okay, but it's not going to get the melody across. Right? Now, and the melody is, so C major, diminished, C major, and C major again, but in root position. So I'm harmonizing that melody. Now, the melody is, those non-chord tones are candidates for other chords. All right. Now I could stay on the C potentially. Nothing wrong with that. Or I could do, listen, F. I could play an F there. That A is in the F chord. That's in the 4 chord. And then the D, I could play a G. So there's a candidate to use a whole bunch of interesting chords just to color up that to colorize. No, not colorizing anything. There's C in second inversion. Here's C in root position, okay? Here's F in second inversion. Here's C in first inversion, right? So we got C in second inversion, plain old C, F in second inversion, C in first inversion. Now, I'm making these slash marks. I'm writing the letter name of the chord and then a slash to show you what the bass note is. But that's not really the bass note. I'm just doing that to illustrate the voicing in the right hand. The real bass note is probably C. Okay, so in real life, I probably wouldn't be doing that. I would probably just leave it as a C and be done with it. But I just wanted to put that out there. So G, C, E, C, E, G, C, F, A, E, G, C. Then when I get to the D, G, B, D. That's a root position chord, and then we're back to the original voicing. So that's, and then this F sharp. I'll just write that kind of separately over here. F sharp, A, C, and I'm going to write it as E flat. This is one of our kind of spelling anomalies. F sharp, I could use a circle to make diminished. F sharp, DIM is probably the clearest. F sharp diminished 7. Sometimes you'll see F sharp and someone will write a circle. That's what that means, diminished. Or sometimes I'll write diminished 7. You know, that's what that means. Now, I'm hesitant to call this E flat if I was writing the melody by itself, because I really don't hear it as that. I really hear, I don't want, first of all, practically speaking, I don't want to have to write an E flat in the music and then write a natural sign after it. Okay, there's that, and also, I'll show you what I mean. There's practical aspects of musical notation, and then there's kind of like grammatical, if you want to call it that, you know, aspects of musical notation. And, you know, ultimately you write the music so people can play it. But if I go E, E flat, and it's in the same measure, I'm going to have to write an E natural again, right? So maybe it's better to write it as a D sharp, and then I wouldn't have to worry about the natural sign. That's one less thing, confusing thing for people to read. But I also hear it, I don't really hear it as an E flat. It's kind of a scale, but you know, I don't want to split hairs too much. I was saying that it's kind of like a symmetrical chord, because F sharp to A is a minor third, A to C is a minor third, C to E flat's a minor third, C to D sharp is not a minor third, it's an augmented second. So that's where you get that, but still you have root, third, fifth, seventh, and then when you make an inversion, and the F sharp would go up here, right? It doesn't matter what kind of chord it is, it's going to appear the same way. It's always, seventh chords, so F, A, C, E. That's how every root position F chord will always appear. In this instance, it has a sharp here and it has a flat here, okay? If I have a first inversion, well, I just got to do that. I'm going to rewrite the flat and the sharp and put the sharp up here, okay? Notice how the intervals change. These are all thirds, right? And then when you form the inversion, you get a second here. See? So that's why if you don't know that, it's hard to read music. When you read music, you don't read notes, you read intervals. And that's the problem with a lot of the music that's out on the internet now, and it's unpublished and, or I shouldn't say unpublished. There aren't any editors or publishers anymore, and so it's kind of, you know, just a hodgepodge of notes very often. And what should be an easy thing to read often becomes a pain. So that's it. I crammed a lot of stuff in there. I got to run. This is Jonathan, the Piano Lessons, signing off. Thank you all my friends out there, and we'll see you soon. It looks like I'm getting some more interest in some of my videos, but it's kind of, you know, kind of goes up, but then kind of goes down. So till then, bye-bye.